Daniel didn't suspect his wife of sleeping with his best friend. He suspected something worse. He began to feel that decisions were being made without him, that conversations were happening in rooms where he used to belong. And the day he realized that his wife and his closest friend had quietly aligned their future without him, he understood that this was not just about betrayal in marriage. Hi everyone, my name is Mia. Tonight's story is about what happens when loyalty between men collides with ambition, and when a husband realizes that he is no longer the center of his own marriage. It is about pride, humiliation, and the kind of revenge that doesn't feel heroic even when it works. Daniel was 44 and had spent most of his adult life building structures that would not collapse. His marriage to Olivia had lasted 19 years, long enough to evolve into something disciplined and cooperative rather than passionate and unpredictable. They had 2 children, one already living independently and the other preparing to leave. Their house felt quieter now, but Daniel interpreted that as maturity rather than distance. Olivia worked with him in their family business. She managed operations while Daniel handled strategy and financial expansion. They trusted each other professionally, which to Daniel felt like a deeper form of intimacy than constant declarations of affection. He believed that shared responsibility was the highest form of commitment. Marcus had been in Daniel's life even longer. They had built their first company together in their 20s. They had failed together, recovered together, learned how to negotiate and how to lose without breaking. Eventually their temperaments separated them professionally. Daniel valued stability. Marcus valued acceleration. Marcus moved into startups and venture-backed projects that promised high returns and higher risk. Daniel stayed with the model that grew slowly and survived downturns. Their friendship endured because Daniel admired Marcus's boldness, and Marcus relied on Daniel's steadiness. When Marcus's latest company began collapsing under debt pressure, Daniel was the first person he called. The situation was serious. Investors were threatening to withdraw. Payroll was strained. A failed quarter could destroy the entire structure. Daniel invested heavily to stabilize it. He refinanced property tied to his own company and structured a rescue agreement that would allow him equity if recovery succeeded. It was not reckless, but it was significant. Olivia supported the decision, arguing that controlled risk was still opportunity. What Daniel did not expect was how quickly Marcus became present in their daily life. He began working from Daniel's office frequently. Olivia took an active role in reviewing Marcus's operational structure. They spent hours restructuring projections, meeting potential partners, and traveling for investor presentations. At first, Daniel felt proud watching them collaborate. He saw intelligence aligning with ambition. He believed he had surrounded himself with capable people who respected him. The shift did not announce itself. It appeared in tone. He would enter a conference room and sense the air change slightly, as though a conversation had just pivoted. Olivia and Marcus shared glances that were not overtly romantic but carried an understanding Daniel could not decode. Small jokes surfaced at dinner that Daniel did not fully grasp. He told himself not to be insecure. At 44, insecurity felt undignified. But unease has a physical presence. He began clenching his jaw in meetings. He lay awake longer at night, replaying conversations. He noticed that Olivia had started dressing differently for investor events, sharper, more intentional. He told himself it was professionalism. The moment everything fractured came late one evening when Daniel reviewed updated legal files for Marcus's restructuring. There was a draft agreement he had not seen. It outlined a partial equity transfer contingent on performance milestones. The surprising element was not the equity allocation itself but the recipient of a significant share, Olivia. The document positioned her as a strategic partner independent of Daniel's stake. Daniel read the pages slowly, then again, searching for context he might have missed. There was no prior discussion. No mention over dinner. No consultation. He confronted Olivia that night, holding the printed draft in his hand. She explained that the structure protected their family if Marcus's company grew substantially. She described it as diversification and insisted that Daniel was overreacting. Daniel asked why she had signed it without telling him. Her answer was controlled but sharp. She said he had been increasingly rigid and that she felt sidelined in long-term vision decisions. She said Marcus saw her value more clearly. That sentence landed harder than any confession of physical betrayal would have. Daniel turned to Marcus the next morning and demanded a direct answer about the nature of his involvement with Olivia. Marcus did not deny emotional closeness. He framed it as intellectual compatibility that had grown naturally through collaboration. Daniel asked whether it had become physical. Marcus hesitated just long enough. The silence was confirmation. The confrontation that followed was not elegant. Years of friendship surfaced as accusation. Daniel accused Marcus of exploiting financial rescue to gain access to his life. Marcus countered that Daniel had grown controlling and dismissive. Olivia stood between them at first, then stepped away, visibly aligning herself beside Marcus rather than her husband. Daniel felt something inside him shift from anger to clarity. He almost left that night. He stood in the bedroom holding a suitcase, staring at the closet while Olivia remained downstairs. His chest felt tight, his thoughts loud. Leaving would have preserved pride. Staying would mean enduring humiliation in proximity. Instead of packing, he closed the suitcase and returned downstairs. He informed Olivia that he had already initiated legal protection of his assets earlier that week after discovering the equity document. He had restructured ownership layers in their primary company. The family home, originally purchased under joint title, had been refinanced solely under a trust arrangement he controlled due to the collateral requirements of his investment. Olivia's composure broke for the first time. Marcus realized the implications quickly. Without Daniel's continued funding and leverage, his company would struggle again. Daniel did not shout. He outlined terms. If Olivia intended to pursue a future aligned with Marcus, she would need to file for divorce immediately. Daniel would not continue joint financial exposure while she held equity in another venture tied to his former friend. Olivia accused him of financial manipulation. Daniel responded that transparency had been available before secrecy entered the equation. Within weeks, divorce proceedings began. The separation was not quiet. Friends took sides. Investors whispered. Daniel endured the humiliation of knowing that parts of the story circulated socially before he controlled the narrative. He considered publicly exposing the affair in professional circles but refrained, not out of mercy, but because scandal would destabilize his own company. His final move came during the legal division of assets. Through contractual clauses embedded in the original rescue agreement, Daniel accelerated repayment terms on Marcus's company. When liquidity failed to meet the threshold, Daniel executed conversion rights that transferred majority ownership to him. Marcus lost controlling stake in the company Daniel had saved. Olivia, whose equity depended on Marcus retaining control, saw her strategic position collapse alongside it. The divorce finalized 6 months later. Daniel did not regain his marriage. He did not restore the friendship. What he reclaimed was authority over his own narrative. Yet the victory felt colder than he expected. Daniel learned that betrayal rarely begins with desire alone. It often begins with quiet realignment, with conversations that slowly exclude the person who once stood at the center. Long marriages don't collapse loudly, they erode quietly. Revenge can restore control, but it cannot restore innocence. And sometimes the most unsettling realization is not that someone betrayed you, but that you became capable of becoming ruthless in response. If this story made you think, subscribe to the channel. These are not simple situations, and they deserve honest conversations. Was Daniel justified in how he handled it? Or did he destroy more than he protected? Tell me what you would have done. I read the comments carefully. I'll see you in the next story.